Saturday and didn't do a live because I did a live on like Wednesday or Thursday when I got some new rodents in, um, like free rodents. So skipped last week. This week I actually didn't feed Friday because I was in court for jury duty, so that was fun. Um, but anyways, so I didn't feed Friday. Yesterday I was doing all my errands, so today I'll be feeding. So I'm probably not going to handle them too much just because I do plan on feeding them this afternoon. Which, if y'all want to see that, ping me before this afternoon to let me know that that's something y'all are interested in and I can jump back on live. But yeah, so without further ado, I'm about to start cleaning. If y'all have questions or anything, just message me in the comments. Yeah, that's what it meant. As always, I want to start my live with showing off this guy who is available. And he is looking real nice. Yeah, is a black-headed python. He is from 2024. I am hoping that all 6 of my eggs that I had this year hatch. I had eggs, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? I did a live when I got them. It was a short live, of course. But anyway, so if they all hatch, that'd be great. But that means he really could use a new home before then. Next year, I am skipping the entire breeding season this winter. Uh, I have vacation plans next year, and I'm not going to be stressing about eggs or litters dropping while I'm out on vacation. So the easiest thing to do for me, just don't breed next year, right? So this will be my last litter until 2028. I am expecting in August to have some cocker key boas, but after that, I don't expect anything until 2028. But 2028 should be a productive year, hopefully, seeing as how I'm taking a whole year off. I typically try to alternate years for breeding. So, normally what I breed this year, I would breed something else next year and vice versa. So, seeing as how I won't be doing that 2028, I may breed everything or I may just really pick and choose. It really depends. I haven't completely planned out what I'll be pairing. Yeah, because taking care of babies is a lot of work, and I'm not going to overdo it with having one about 6 litters at a time. That's just, for me. This is just a hobby, so that's too many babies to care for properly. And as you can see, like most of my baby rack, I use as a tool rack instead for various things. That down there I could use, and then the 70s. I could technically clean those up and use those, but I use that to store all my fake plants and rocks and bowls and hides on the top. Once again, it's like a tool rack for me. I told my wife if I downsize, I'm not selling those because these things are awesome as little tool racks. They're obviously it's a shame to use them as a tool rack because they're definitely better as a tub for babies, but they work good for tool racks. So, anyways, I try not to overdo the breedings because I really only have this rack set up for babies. And then down there, you can see there's 2 empty spots. That's because I have my thermostat sitting in them. But during actual raising seasons where I have babies, I use all those. But then this entire rack here, that would be available. So I don't have any heat on the bottom, and I only have this one on the top, but that's normally the ones that I use. So if I bred too many in 2028, then I'd have to use my tool racks. And I do really want to do that because, yeah, I like, as you can see, I have like, for example, these, my little hands for my Viper boas. Viper boas are very bitey as babies, so I naturally want them to get used to being touched. You can leave the hands in there with them. Uh, I got my little water cleaners. I got my gloves. This is a solar meter. I don't have anything in here that needs that, but my tortoises outside, I always want to make sure they're getting the proper solar because I have a light in their enclosure. And then my wife has Euros that also need to make sure they get their proper solar. So, anyways, tool rack right there, basically. But yeah, so that's why I'll be taking 2028 into consideration when I'm planning out what I breed. I don't want to breed everything then, but I'll probably bleed blackheads in 2028 breeding season. Argentine boas, if that were, I will be breeding whether they have babies or not. We'll have to wait and see. And then my dwarf berms. Running down my lay onto my shoe. Help me? Oh, is that right? You don't need help. This guy? Yeah, you could. If anything, he'd crawl in your shoe and hang out there as long as it didn't stink, you know. But, yeah, snakes typically don't hurt you. You know, like I actually, I walk around in flip flops a lot. It's poop. Oh man, yeah. That I mean that definitely does happen. Yeah, I've actually my Viper boas are very big on their defense mechanism is let me pee and urinate or urinate and poop all over you. So yeah, I can feel that. But yeah, this last week I was taking a lunch break as I work from home, and I walk around in flip flops most of the time, and went into the backyard to go. What was I doing? I was doing something going from where I keep my rabbits, going to the back where the garden is of the property, and I had my flip flops on, walking through the grass, and got stung by after research, what I assume was a cricket hunter wasp. But I was like, I don't know if it was a wasp or a spider or a fire ant. Not a fire ant, but what do they call them? Ant wasps or something. Like those big furry looking ants. We have those here too. But I knew it was something other than what I thought it was when I first got it. I thought it was just like a thorn, essentially, because we get those. So I lift my foot up, and then I saw something fling off that was about the size of a nickel in black, and I was like, okay, well that narrows it down to what I said I thought it was. Pain-wise, it wasn't bad, so I just monitored it, and based off the pain, I assume it was a cricket hunter wasp because it wasn't that bad. They actually hurt less than like the red wasp, but because it stung me right on the bottom of my toe, I felt it more. But yeah, so that being said, animals typically don't go out of their way to hurt you unless you're doing something to hurt them, like stepping on them, for example, like I did a couple weeks ago. And then, yeah, it went ahead and reminded me that there's things living under my feet. Still walking around in flip flops, but trying to make sure the kids wear shoes because I bought them boots for the yard because we have a decent sized yard and we are in, you know, we're in East Texas area, so we got coral snakes, copperheads, moxkins. So, uh, yeah, be careful, but we typically don't bother like wildlife, right? If you're not paying attention, you can step on them. But yeah, so anyways, I see there's a few extra people on right now. This is a black-headed python. He is a male and from 2024, and he wants to look at me, not y'all, unfortunately. But he is available in my morph market. There you go. And if you're interested, you can go check him out. I do plan on skipping, I was saying earlier, skipping breedings this year, so I won't be breeding anything this winter because I'm vacationing next year and I don't want to have to worry about eggs or litters dropping. But this could be, you know, a good opportunity to get him before I have my current litter hatch of blackheads. And yeah, all right. Sundays is typically my day of cleaning, so I want to get to work cleaning their enclosures and waters. And if you have any questions, just ping me in the comments. I guess I'll bring this over here so y'all can see what I'm doing. So like I said, these two racks over here are the racks that I use for actually holding my babies. And I try to use my bigger snakes, get the V70 tubs. As you can see, this is what I consider my bigger snakes. And then like my Viper boas and my Viper boas go up here, my BCIs down there, BCOs and blackheads get V70s. Sorry, come here, I forgot to put paper in there. There you go. I'll do that. If you're ever looking for something for your snakes to rub up against, I really like these smooth lava rocks. They're rough, but they're not like sharp. I have some sharper ones too for the enclosures that are bigger and look more natural. But these, which are obviously for like decor, but just get these. These are awesome because they're rough and smooth at the same time. Gives snakes something to rub up against. Alright, throughout today, if I disappear off camera, it's because I'm cleaning their bowls, so I leave the room for that. So on Tuesday, one of my Viper boas shed, and then on Wednesday, I think, or maybe Thursday, I forget the exact day, another one shed. So two of them have fresh skins. Let me show those off before I start cleaning. So this little guy, let me get out of the light so y'all can see better. That's a fresh shed. Can y'all see? There we go. So this little guy has a, let me get over here so I can see better. Make sure. It's hard to get lighting in this part of the house. Or not house, but room, because there's just no good light, but hopefully it's picking up. I was talking to, sorry, this might be loud, so I'm right next to the phone trying to make sure he's in view. I was talking to my wife. I'm probably getting a new phone September, October. If one of the new ones are worth getting. If not, might wait till next March. But when I do, the forward-facing camera should be better for this. I have a S21, so the camera is pretty old, in technically speaking old, based on, you know, the newer ones, but I'm upgrading because it's no longer getting security updates as of this year. But yeah, so that one, anybody ask questions? Nope. So this is my male. He is captive born and bred by me. Oh, that actually looks pretty good at that angle. Nice. He's captive born and bred by me. He's from December 13th, 2021. And sorry, I lied. 2023. I'm thinking my other snake's 2021. I had to look at his tag, so I write down when I confirmed his sex, when he, not when he was born, but this is his date, and the first two digits is the year, then the litter, and then the number that I assigned him. But yeah, so 2023, December, which I think my 23 litter dropped in 26th of December. I think it was right after Christmas. But anyways, they're both December babies, just different years and unrelated. Yeah, that's him. I will come back to her. This is the other one that shed. This is my 2021. You can see size difference, but also, don't fall. Don't want to drop them while I'm trying to be on camera here. But this is a female, confirmed. She is a 2021, captive born bred by me. You know, but yeah, you can see she's got a little bit more red going in with her color, anyways. Whilst he's got more yellowish. Yeah. Their things are also clean because I just cleaned them when they shed. They also poop. And then this is another captive born and bred. And she has not shed yet, but I'm expecting it probably in the next month. Yeah. All right. Now that I've showed them, let me actually get to cleaning, if there's no questions. One thing, if you ever get Viper boas, don't hold them high off the ground. So if you notice when I was trying to pick her up, I kept her where she wasn't out from over, like falling all the way to the floor. They're very slippery because they're always wet. I don't like squeezing too much to hold on to them. It's uncomfortable for the snake, right? What does this say? Add a question and answer stickers. Try it out. Sure. Oh, it's like the sample says pizza, thin or thick crust. All right. I don't really care, but I just want to try it out. So, question. Viper boa. Let me see if I can type this. Sorry, shaking it. Viper boa or black-headed python. There we go. Answer. There's a chat message. Done. Start Q&A. Okay. All right, so we'll let that run. Let's see if I can move that. Oh, that's perfect. Oh, it's just right in the middle of my screen. Anyways, as I was saying, like when I'm holding my Viper bows, especially fish stuff, you'll see that they're on top of this, because if you're holding them like this, there's a good chance one, they'll pee or poop, so then you're gonna have to be cleaning carpet if you're on top of carpet like myself, or they're going to squirm out of your hands, and then they're dropping from 3-4 feet off the ground. I don't like the idea of my snakes dropping that far when they're thin like that or small like that. So I recommend always having something underneath you while you're holding them, whether that's a nice, tray or table or tub, or if you have them in an enclosure, having your hands inside the enclosure while holding them, just so if they do fall, they don't fall far. But yeah, if you have Viper bows, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just keep that in mind when you're handling them. All right, I'm going to get back to cleaning them, guys. Feel free to answer the question and we can get going. I'm going to go get some extra water for watering plants today, and I'll be back afterwards. About 2 years, we're gonna have 3 kids running around this house. We'll come visit you on the weekends. Ho- Hotel California.
Hey, Dad. Daddy.
What?
So, I built a Mexican house and built you some rocks.
Oh, okay. Well, the house sounds cool. Keep building, bud. Sorry, I forgot I was on live. Just having a conversation with my family. Alright, so I get extra water every now and then in case plants need more than just the water. So what I do is I take the water from their water bowls that they use throughout drinking, peeing, pooping, bathing, and I just dump that. Unless there's pee and poop, if I do that, I don't because I don't want to just throw that in there. It's kind of nasty. But I'd use their used water for plant water. But in some cases like this here, I see it's really dry. I get extra water in that case. Be mindful of humidity spikes if you're doing that. I have great ventilation, so I'm not as concerned, but you still have that to worry about. Humidity spikes can cause respiratory infections, so be mindful of what you're doing. take her out. All right. Remove that. And we are about to pull him out. Kim, my Max Pink Argentine boa. Oh. She. Little head just whoop, hello in the camera. So this is a Argentine boa. She is the Max from the Max Pink line. Ancient Reproductions, if you're not familiar with who create that line. He still has some of this actual year available. I keep an eye on the Argentine market and see what's available. He actually still has some 2020s available. I don't know if it's from this exact litter. He had, I believe, I have to look, honestly, I have to look to see what litter she's from. I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say litter 2 or something like that, but I'd have to look. I have it in my records. But she has a very unique distortion of her pattern, which he has not seen in the others, he was saying, which is kind of cool. But this camera doesn't give, this lighting doesn't give her justice on how pretty she is. Hopefully with the new camera, I get new camera phone in a couple months, it'll just do better for showing them off. Yeah, beautiful snake. So big fan of them. I will say, something to be mindful of. I want to say it's probably the species because both my male and my female are very similar and they're from different lineages, breeders, etc. They seem very cage aggressive. Once you get them out, as you can see, I'm holding her, no problem. But you walk by her enclosure or eggs down in the bottom, they do occasionally strike at the glass. So by occasionally, I mean at least if I walk by 3 times, one of those 3 I'm probably getting struck at. Yeah, and it's not like a hunger thing because it could be, middle of the time before them getting feed. So they feed about every 2 weeks. She actually got a meal on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday or Monday? Something like that. She's gotten like more meal. Just how I breed them. I'm getting her ready for breeding. That'd be that she gets food more frequently every other feed. So like she got fed Monday, she got fed today, then she'll go to her normal schedule in 2 weeks of feeding, and then another 7-8 days, and then the normal feeding. Probably sounds confusing. Look, it's easier to explain with paper and pen and calendar or something like that. But what I was saying is both of them seem to be striking. The only other person that strikes at the cage is Luna, my Hog Island boa, but she only does that maybe once out of 10 times you pass by. So not near, I'm coming up with these numbers off the top of my head, not actual statistics, but just kind of give an idea. It's very rare from her, but more common from my BCOs. So don't know if that's just them naturally being cage defensive or not, but as you can see, they're very much chill when they're out. So keep that in mind when you're looking at BCOs. I started to, maybe you can kind of see there's a cardboard piece that's going this way. I cut to block off their mirror. I've been having it out in my garage. It was a huge rectangular piece from a shipping box. I cut it to block her and his, just to give them a little bit more sense of security, but cut them too big, so I have to recut. I cut them based on the enclosure size, not the glass pane that it's covering, so I have about 1 inch to trim off of both. But yeah, I'm surprised nobody's actually viewing these guys, but really cool snake, love her, and I'm going to put her back so I can continue cleaning. Let her finish going all the way in there before I lock it. Next up is Latte. I'll take her out. She is amazing. You can see she's laying down next to her deadish plant. It's not dead, it's just thirsty. So she is a dwarf Burmese python. Look how pretty she is. Beautiful. All right. Let me water her plants. Let that sit for a minute while I show her off before I put her up and clean her. I'm going to turn the camera back around this way because the lighting's better in this direction. Yeah. Sorry guys. Trying to tighten this up. There we go. There we go. Alright, we're done. Alright. It is getting hot in here. The room itself stays around 85. Sometimes 80. But, yeah. Pretty warm. My office is right above this room, and it has our incubator in it. And it, I know for a fact, stays at 85 because I'm in there during the week and I monitor the temperature because it's hot. It also has computers running, right? I have my personal one, my work one, and then I watch things and do my job. Have an incubator running behind me, so it gets pretty hot in there with all that. Plus, just the body temperature. The room roughly 85. When I'm checking it, I have a little thermostat that's connected to the thermostat, like little Google sensors. So I know exactly the temperature it is where I'm sitting because I keep it on my desk. I'm like, yeah, it feels 85. Right now it feels like that in here. I'm hot. But yeah, this was still is my dream snake, but I have it now, so it's like not a dream anymore, it's reality. But for many years this was a snake that I had sought after and never thought I'd find. When I finally did, I was super excited. I bought 3, 2 females and a male. Unfortunately, when I moved from my last house to this house, I lost one of my females. She didn't do well in the transit, which was heartbreaking because, like I said, dream snake, right? But I'm very, not very, let me rephrase it. I'm thinking heavily on getting another one if I can, because I really want 2 females, but we'll see. I also told my wife that I was not going to buy anymore, so yeah, we'll see. Nobody is watching you, but it's okay. one thing I like about these lives, I can go back and watch, and then I can get pictures from. Oh. Alright. I'm about to put her up. Last view of Latte, my dwarf Burmese python. FYI, there is no such thing as a super dwarf Burmese python, so if you ever hear that, run fast. There is no such thing. She is from Java Island, so they do have locality, but let's just put it like this, there's not enough of them to make a difference on locality. The only ones I know of in the US are from Java Island, so it's cool to know, but it's not not like it's going to make a difference if you think about it. Like if you look at like Kalatoa's super dwarf retics, right? Those localities names matter because there's different localities available. I just like to know what island they're from, and because they're from Java, that's why she's named Latte. My male's named Java. I was following the coffee theme. All right, let me put her up and get back to work. I'm on live, so you can't come in. I'm on video. You don't have clothes on. My son's running around in his underwear, so I'm like, you're not coming in here. I'm sure all of y'all are good people, but still, my kid's not going to be on the internet in his underwear. Let me get this one. I won't be taking any more snakes out because I do need to go. I have a hearing exam today, so I will be just focused on cleaning for the rest of the video or the live stream because I do need to get things cleaned up and then take care of personal things with my hearing exam. trying to see who I want to show off. I will let y'all look at Neptune. Too low. There we go. That's Neptune over there. But maybe y'all would rather look at Melody. She is right there. I'm back. He's not doing nothing, so let's. Hey man, when you get a chance, what are you using for substrate for hogs? So I'm currently using. Turn over. So this one down here has my female. This one right here has my male. My male will be moving to this one down here once I get it ready. Um, but they just have dirt. This one's bioactive. This one's just dirt. Spag moss, a little bit of uh, cypress mulch, and dirt, essentially. Um, some of these have Biodude, was it terra firma in it. Others I've made my own, like this one here, which is just topsoil from Home Depot. So I use topsoil, cypress mulch, making sure it's just cypress mulch, spag moss, leaf litter. My leaf litter is just from my oak tree. I don't use pesticides in my yard, so I grab my own leaves. I would say every year, but that's a lie. I've had this bag here for the last 2 years. It's not like they go through a bunch of leaf litter, but I gathered up leaves and then I baked them in my barbecue pit outside, actually, not in the oven, and let them basically cook there. Sorry, I'm trying to tighten this up so it's very wobbly. There we go. I Whew, I'm hot. I bake them and then use them, and because I haven't used them, I didn't do anything last year, and I don't plan on doing any this year because that should be plenty by the number of animals I have on substrate. But yeah, so topsoil. I forget the brand that I use, but it's found at Home Depot. There's no, crazy manure and stuff like that, and it's just dirt. Do you pack the dirt or leave it loose? Do they burrow? I actually, when you put it in, it's very loose, but they end up going in and packing it down. So what I do is I take my hook and once every 8 months, it's not like I do like on schedule, but whenever I start seeing really compacted areas, I'll take my hook and basically run it through the substrate to break it up, aerate it. Some of my enclosures have more isopods than others. Like this one right here has a ton of isopods. That one down there, ton of isopods. Others, they're sparingly. I actually get these other bioactive creatures. I have fly traps up here because they are tons of little bitty. I don't know what they are, but they kind of like puff. Like when you smash them, it looks like you just smashed dust on the wall. But that's where their bioactive comes from because those things are all over the place. Um, but yeah, in regards to burrowing, yes and no. So I think it's going to depend on the animal, what they're doing. My male, he will dig tunnel. Not, I wouldn't call them tunnels because it's not deep enough to actually make tunnels, but he will dig underneath things and through the dirt, whereas my female won't. She down there, she just crawls underneath the logs and stays above the surface for the most part. Any other questions? I'm gonna give you a few minutes to type in case you do. But yeah, they do pretty good. That's what I use. Some people will use cypress mulch and whatnot. I don't like changing the bedding out a ton. So when I use regular dirt, even if it's not bioactive like my male here, I don't have to change that as frequently because it's bioactive without plant life, but I have all these bugs that are in the room that do eat the feces. So all I got to do is clean out the urates and then refresh the soil every now and then, which by every now and then I mean like every couple of years. I don't do it very frequently because it's not needed. If I come in here and like it smelled like poop and there it was bad, then sure, clean it out. But otherwise, I let the nature take its course on it. It also would depend on the size of your enclosure. If you have them in a 2x2, right, it's maybe probably change it out more frequently. Do they still climb as adults? Yeah. So this one down here is a 4 by 2 by 3 foot tall, and I'll catch my female on this log here all the time. The one over in this corner, let me move this. The log in this corner, she doesn't use as much, but the heat source is up here with the heat panel, and then there's a light on that side. So the light does produce heat. That's why most of my other enclosures have the light and the heat source on the same side. So it truly is a cool side over there. But seeing as how it's so tall, the cool side is down on the bottom over there, really. But she will hang out up here. She climbs. She'll go across there, come down. Uh, 3 feet ain't, I wouldn't really call that climbing in the sense of like if she was in nature, right? You'd be climbing up a tree to get a bird or something. You're talking about 10 feet or more off the ground. That's climbing. This is more of a stretch, right? It's like stretching over a tree that fell across your path and you're just climbing up it. So I think we have to consider what's in nature versus in our homes, right? We're not going to, well, we could. That'd be awesome if we had the space and could afford a 10-foot tall enclosure and give that, realistic environment. But most of us can't do that. But yes, they do climb. And I've watched Dave Kaufman's video. I think it was last year. It could have been at the beginning of this year, but I'm pretty sure it was last year. If you go check his channel, he went to Hog Island. You just go to his channel and search Hog Island, and I'm sure it'll pop up. But it was a really good video. He went to the island, and you could see the Hog Island boas in the trees, perching on a branch above a little creek water where he was like, maybe the birds come in for a bite and they'll just grab them, right? But that gives you a good idea of what their environment looks like on Hog Island. So I'd highly recommend checking that out if you're going to be looking, for what their environment is in the wild. It's pretty cool. I loved that video. What he was, yeah, he was at Hog Island. Yeah. Yeah, the 4 by 2 by 2, that's almost what this is. This is only 18 inches tall. That's why I'm moving them. I'm actually trying to sell these enclosures because I have no use for them. The only reason I haven't moved them is because I haven't gotten to it. But if I sold one of the enclosures, I would definitely make space because I have a 5-foot 2 by 2 up there that's available, and then this is a 6 by 2 by 2 there, and that's available. Just haven't made the move yet. But a 4 by 2 by 2, you could definitely still put some ghost wood in there. I like ghost wood over some of the other branches because it's thick. You can see like that's a good wide piece. It's not really thick, but it's strong, so it's not going to buckle under her weight. It looks nice too, so that helps. But yeah, you can put some good wood in there, and if it's longer, you just kind of angle it to the side so it still fits in the 2-foot enclosure, giving them space to move. Your heat source, I'll use this one as an example up here. If you have a heat source, the radiant heat panels are nice. They're not going to burn on contact, but if you're doing a lamp or something like that as the heat source, make sure you have a heat, like a guard. So this is just the LED light, but the cage around it is the Arcadia, like UVB bulb light thing. Works really good, and that protects snake from direct contact with the lamp and prevent it from shattering, right? Or from them shattering it. So definitely recommend looking at a heat panel. Nice. That I'd say is the best way to do it. And then if you ever upgrade those heat panels, you really can move them from one to the other depending on how big of an upgrade. If you go from a 4 to a 5, you could use the same heat panel, right? If you go from a 4 to a 6, probably fine. I always just get a bigger heat panel with my 6-foots anyways, but if I was like moving and wanted to save money, I don't think there would be a problem because you could get the heat where you need to on the hot side, and it'll just have more of a gradient to the cool side. But yeah, that's the way I'd do all of my enclosures is the heat panel and LED light. Then I think that's a great setup for a Hog Island. Mine are asleep. Not really asleep, just not out, unfortunately. He's in his hide, she's down there under, oh no, sorry, he's over there. I can actually take, oh, I'm I don't bother them. So I'm feeding them later today. But yeah, they pretty good. It's pretty cool. I will say, when you do get your adult male, if you're getting a male, I think we've talked about this in the past on either a live or in chat. I don't remember where me and you talked, but we've talked. We have about that, and I would say until they get a big adult size, the 4 foot's going to last for a few years, but eventually you may want to move a little bit bigger. But like this dude is 2020, 2019, one of those 2 years. I have to look at my sheet that I have on him. But you can see what is it? He's August 2028, assuming my sticker's right there. I think it is. So that's 8-year old, and he still has plenty of room. He takes up about the size of this little white bowl here, right? He has plenty of room in there, so you'd probably be fine. But if you end up power feeding your snake, which I think we talked about, and you're on the same boat where you're not going to do that, but if you do, you're probably going to want to get a bigger enclosure because they will grow bigger. And if you looked at Dave Kaufman's video of them in the wild, you could truly see they are on the smaller side than what you see a lot of people's hogs in captivity, which, aligns with them eating birds and actually having to hunt for their food, stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely recommend male just because there's less medical complications with them as well. Well, any other questions you got? Give it a few minutes. I have a hearing test today, so I'll wrap up cleaning and then get to that. Yeah, not looking for breeding or growing. Yeah, they're awesome pet snakes. Not sure if you found any yet. If you went to that group chat I was telling you about, not group chat, but group page on Facebook, the Hog Island page. I know I just saw, I forget his name. I've never bought from him, but I know that he's reputable. If you go on there, he just posted, I want to say like 4-ish snakes that he had available, 4 Hog Island boas. And it was like this week I've seen his post. I want to say his name's like Calhoun's his last name. I forget his first name. But you could look at him, and then Victor LaRousse, he'll probably have some available this year too. And if you check out him, that's who I got my mail from. So you can find him on Facebook and then also on Morph Market. I don't know about Calhoun, but I've known his name, like it's come up a lot in chat, so he seems reputable based on what I've seen. I haven't personally talked to him or interacted with him, so I don't get personally, but probably could go in the group and get more information from that group. Is there a good way to visually identify as a hog and not cross? I would say it's not 100% easy because there's different lines. Like some people will focus on more speckles, right? And they're still like that. They have a lot of speckles. They're hog islands. Others will focus on more orange color. Like, hey, who can get brighter, right? Still 100% hog, but because they can't, like people take different paths on what they're breeding and what they want to produce. A snake may not look like it's a hog, but it is. But I would never go to like a shop if they're selling you a hog island and it's from like a pet store on Main Street. No, don't do it. First of all, I don't like pet shops. I feel like they give bad names. There could be great ones, great beers. I know there's a lot of people that probably go to pet shops that, hey, I own a pet shop and I actually set up this line. This is like, great, right? But I've been to a lot of pet shops where they're shady. They lie just to get a sell, right? So I don't, if you're going to a pet shop and they say they got a hog, just assume that it's not pure. Best to go to find someone reputable, like the Calhoun person. That's why I'm saying they're reputable. I've seen them in the groups. I've seen their snakes. They look like hogs. They don't look like they're crossed out with some mainland that, to get a little brighter. They look very true. Victor LaRousse, his hogs look very true. If you, I'm not gonna pull my snakes out right now, but when you look at them, like, there's actually a distinct difference between my male and my female. My female has lots of speckles. My male doesn't. My male's from Victor LaRousse, so I know it is a pure hog island because I've done the research. I trust he is not cheating people, right? And he has a good reputation out there. So when you look at that, like if I saw him at a pet store, I honestly would be like, oh, well, tell me more. Where did you get him? Right? I would want to get a lot of information from pet store. And the pet store, if they had any indication that they weren't sure what they were talking about, red flag, right? But that's why I recommend going to the breeder themselves and not a pet store for that. Meant like on Morph Market or a show. At a show, I've actually Hog Island's the only dwarf boa that I've seen at a show before. So in Conroe, we had 3 Hog Islands there. I looked in their babies, and I looked at them, and I could visually tell, hey, these are actually pure Hog Islands. It when you look at enough, like you can start to tell. It's hard for me to explain how, really, but when you start working with them, you can tell them. And I was actually surprised because it was just a random booth. Don't remember who it was. It wasn't like some big name, and they had 3, and I looked and was like, oh, that's true. Now I'm not wasn't looking for Hog Islands, and I don't try to take up vendors' time at shows because they're trying to make sales and talk to customers. So I'm not going to be a customer unless I know the person. I'm not going to bother them with conversation just because I kind of respect their time, right? And if I'm distracting them, someone might try to steal from the table. It's crazy. So, anyways, I saw 3 from the booth, and I was like, huh. And then I'm like, that's a small litter, but that could have been, he may have had a litter size of 6, 4, 3 is what he has left to show. Maybe he's holding back a couple. Who knows, right? So, if you see him at a show, I wouldn't immediately cancel. But if the person says they did not breed them, I'd be like, okay, thanks. Walk away, right? Because you don't know. It starts at the, oh, I got this from Jose. Jose got it from James. James got it from Paul. No, if they didn't breed it, just move along. If they did breed it, then ask the question, where did the mom come from? Where did the dad come from? Do you have pictures of the parents? As a breeder, I know some people get annoyed with those questions because there's tire kickers out there, but at the end of the day, you're the customer. You want to make sure what you're buying is what you're buying. It's not like you're going to a Ford dealership and you're buying a Ford, right? You're at a pet expo. You're trying to make sure. So if they don't have pictures off on their phone of the parents, walk away. I feel like as a unique item, you would have those pictures available. Whether it's like, hey, here they're on my Facebook, because I don't have pictures of my hogs right at the top of my phone, but I can go to Facebook, go to Instagram, and be like, here's the parents that I have, right? So if they can't produce pictures, they didn't breed them, walk away. If they did, look at the pictures, ask, hey, where did the mom come from? Where did the dad? If they bred those, cool. Where did the grandparents come from? Find out eventually, where did it come from? Did it come from another breeder? If you haven't heard about that breeder, like Victor LaRousse, you may not have heard about him because that's his name. He's on Facebook, not, and he might be well known. I don't know. I just know him for Hog Islands. But if you don't know the name, ask, hey, what about this person? Ask the details. Honestly, it's very hard to do something so unique at a show because you have to take a lot of trust out at the top of the head. Like you have to be like, I trust what you're saying. I'm willing to buy it. I would say in today's world with unique snakes, if you're buying hogs, you're buying calitos, go try to find it online from the breeder and have those conversations back and forth that take days, right, to build that conversation up versus the 5 minutes you have at a show and you get the impulse purchase, but then you go home, you take a picture and you post it on Hog Island group and they're like, beautiful snake. I see this all the time. People don't want to be rude and like, oh, that's not a Hog Island. They're like, beautiful snake, but that's not a pure, right? That's how they put it. There's always a beautiful snake, and I'm like, most snakes are beautiful. Like I haven't seen an ugly snake, right? But that's just them trying to say, hey, that's not a Hog Island. So that's why I really recommend that group. Even if you're not on Facebook, create a Facebook page just to get on there. It's worth it. to do your research and communicate with other people like us that really like that locality. Sorry, let me scroll up a little bit. I like on Morph Market or show. I'm trying to get a premium out of a non-hog. Yeah, they definitely try to do that, and I've seen so many posts on the group of like, hey, I picked this up at the expo or I picked this up at a shop, and it's really sad because they paid. It's not like these snakes are crazy expensive, but it's still a lot of money, right? It's not like it's a corn snake that you're buying. Do they typically explore when you handle them, or do they chill more? It varies. They're not going to be like my Kalatoa, just constantly like bam going. Like when my Kalatoas were smaller, I would just figure eight them around my hand because they would just nonstop go. My hogs, they're going to go, but then they're just going to like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here, and I might like sniff around, but they're eventually going to chill out more. Unlike my dwarf retic, that's just they're always both of them. It's not even my male or my female's active. They're both very active snakes, whereas the Hog Islands start to chill out more. And if you noticed, you don't see any of them occasionally on video, but they come out really more in the late afternoon. I'll see my female out up here on the top. So you're not going to see them, but you could definitely take them out, handle them, and once they calm down and stop moving as much, you'd have them on the couch hanging out, right? Just be mindful because they're very good about getting in between the cushions as well. And what's your feeding regimen for your babies? Not trying to power feed or grow. Okay, so for my babies, I feed once a week. Sometimes because different snakes, it can be from the same litter. A snake may have a faster metabolism than another snake. Or your previous feed, not all mice weigh the same, right? One may be 4 grams, one may be 5 grams, one may be 7 grams. That 7 grams is going to provide more food than the 4 gram, right? So you're not going to just say, oh, I need nothing but 7 grams. You're going to feed that. But it's easy if you only have one snake you're feeding to monitor. Hey, it's 5 days in. My snake is starting to look thinner. Give them an extra one, right? It's not going to hurt. And then the next one, do another 5 days. And then, hey, I want to be back on Fridays with my feeding. So I'm going to feed today, even though he ate 3 days ago. That's not power feeding. That's just trying to stick with the regiment and catching him up. And same thing, maybe your snake is a slower metabolism, or you fed him heavy that previous feeding, right? You now, instead of feeding him on Fridays or whatever day you choose, right? It's 7 days in. Maybe you push it out to 8 or 9 days. There's a lot of flexibility in it, and anyone that says, hey, it needs to be every 7 days or every 5 days, every 4 days, you don't know what's that size that they're feeding. Are they feeding them really, really large? Or are they feeding them small? Me personally, snakes, they can eat bigger than their body a little bit, and I've seen people go way bigger in body. I don't do that. I want my snake not to have to go crazy and be sitting uncomfortable while it digests its food. I do the size of the body. And some say will go slightly larger. I'm not about, you're talking about a snake this big, trying to find a rat that's just slightly larger? No. I just feed about the size of their body and keep an eye on them. Feed them more when you need to, feed them less when you don't, and try to treat them like a child, right? Like a child, you feed 3 times a day, 5, 6 times because they're always snacking. But if you start seeing your kid being too skinny, you're going to be like, hey, I need to feed you more. I need to feed you more nutritionally dense food too. So hey, no more bread. You need cheese. You need something, right? So like snakes, same way. You're feeding them rats. Rats are very fatty. If they're getting fat, maybe throw in a Reptilink, which I have fed them Reptilinks. They've had no problems with them. Throw in a chicken, right? Throw in some extra food that has different nutritional value in it. As they get older, your feedings can expand. Like I feed them every 2 weeks now. And I was explaining this earlier. I don't know if you're on. Probably not, because it was like near the beginning of the feeding. I'm feeding them today because I was at jury duty on Friday. So it went from 14 days to 16 days for some of my snakes. However, she ate on Monday this week because I wanted to get her an extra feeding in. So there's wiggle room for snakes. What you don't want to do is, hey, she's skinny and I'm not, or he's skinny and I'm 5 days late. Okay, well, like that's a big extreme. If they're skinny, you want to be early, not late. If they're healthy, you can be a few days late and it not be a problem, right? It's not going to affect them. It's like us fasting as humans. It's good for us to fast every now and then. Do they typically, what's your feeding? Do you feed birds too? Yeah, so I feed quails. You can get them various sizes. I feed quails. I feed day-old chickens. I have some smaller, medium-sized chickens. I do reptilinks. I do rabbits too, because I breed my own rabbits, but all of mine are eating like 2-week-old rabbits. They're not eating large rabbits yet, but you can feed them various diets, which is I personally think is good, not to just have them on rodents. You can look into various, in reptilinks, they have various different types of prey items they can put in. I personally, if I'm doing a reptilink, I like the Mega Blend. I used to love the iguana. They don't do iguana anymore. I don't know why. I'm not looking into it. It's not the end of the world for me, but I love that because I was like, hey, that's, a reptile. They're not finding iguanas on Hog Island, but they would, if they found a lizard, they'd eat it, right? Same as bird. But their Mega Blend is a blend of different stuff. I just don't do any of the fruits or veggies that come in with it. That's more for like their tegus. Any other questions? They eat fish. I have never tried fish for my snakes. I have done it for my tortoises. My redfoots, they eat meat, so I'll occasionally throw out a sardine to them. But I haven't done it for my snakes, except for my Viper boa babies. I did feed them minnows and rats with tuna juice all over it, just because I'm trying to get them to eat when they're babies. As adult snakes, I'm not feeding fish unless it was like a aquatic snake, right? I might, if I had a snake that's known in the wild to eat whatever it can eat and it's in the water hunting, I'd give it a fish. But for mine, I don't, because fish are very oily. I don't want to mess up their system with something they wouldn't naturally be used to. I try to keep everything, stuff that would seem normal for them to eat if they came across it. I don't expect my Hog Island to go down to the coastline and get in the water and hunt for fish, so I'm not feeding them fish. And like I said, fish are very oily, so it could cause undesirable outcomes. Oh, okay, you haven't? Yeah. I haven't either, but like I have for my Viper boas, but Viper boas also are in the water a lot of time, and if you think about tadpoles, because Viper boa babies are very... oh, okay, you're in your shorts, you can come. Yeah, you're in shorts, you can come in.
Yeah, but
Raise this a little bit, because he's at least shirtless.
yeah.
Um,
That's because I need to say
you got a question, and I need to say yes?
yeah.
What's your question?
My question is you need to say yes for that.
I need to say yes for that. That's a comment, but not a question. But yeah, my Viper boas, they spend a lot of time in waters, and I just imagine, I've never seen videos of them in the wild, but because they do spend so much time in water, you're going to find tadpoles, you're going to find minnows, stuff like that in the water. So that's why I tried small fish with them. Okay, you're in shorts too now.
So,
That is a scale. Alright, I have company now. Hey, that's not a scale for humans, bud. You're too heavy for that. Alright. Any other questions?
It's too heavy for me. It's too heavy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we have. Next in a weapon. But
If not, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds in case you're typing something out. Watching Dave's video, it seems like birds are... Yeah, that's what it seemed like watching that too. Or I think I might be confusing another video, but he went to a abandoned hotel where they normally said that they would find them too, and there's a bunch of bats. So also bats could be, and like my Calatoas, they eat a lot of bats on their island. So birds definitely were their primary food source, it seems like, in the wild. However, just feeding them chickens, I would put it under the same category of like just feeding them rats. Not that it's bad, but it's not as good as a more diverse diet. Moving this over here because my kid's crawling over there and don't want to mess it up. But yeah, it's definitely, I wouldn't not feed them a chicken or quail. I keep it diverse in the feedings. But I will say rodents are their primary food source that I feed. I know I would not feed eggs unless it's an egg-eating snake. I would avoid eggs. I've never seen, like, looking at my snake, they does not seem like they would eat eggs. You know, I think if they, even in the wild, they probably would not eat them just based on what I see. But, you know, I'm happy to be proven wrong someday. You know, I still probably wouldn't just because the risk of the egg cracking causing issues.
I told you, stay away from that because that's your pythons are under.
Yeah.
Big ones, and that one's your dangerous ones are.
Any other questions before I end? And feel free to friend request me on Facebook. You can find me in any of those groups. Island Life Exotics. Stop, Leo. Oh. Hey, man. You can get your date. All right, cool, man. Feel free to come back on next time, and if you have any other questions. Also, you don't have to wait for live. It is definitely so much easier to send me a comment on live and me talk because I can ramble on about it. But if some emergency comes up and you're like, hey, sorry, my son keeps moving. If something comes up and you need some advice or, you know, want to talk something over, just ping me. All right, thanks. See y'all later.
Uh-oh, Dad.
What is it,
I
bud?
want to put it